What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this one, I'm going to go over my YCS Indianapolis deck list and choices and give kind of my perspective on why I chose to play what I played and how it went overall. So for Indy, I'll be honest, I did not really prepare at all for this event. I had like maybe a week to pick a deck and learn it. Or at least, you know, if I didn't know it, I would have to learn it. So that was kind of limiting. And then also, I didn't really prepare much for the meta. Like, I haven't been testing much at all. I've only been to locals like 2 or 3 times in the last 2 months, like prior to the event. And to be honest, it made it kind of rough. And I was trying to, because of that, kind of go with a little bit more comfort, at least when it came down to my deck choices. But anyway, so when it came to picking a deck to play for the event, these were really my 4 choices, in my opinion. I'll start with Branded. Branded is probably the best deck, well, almost certainly the best deck out of these. But I didn't play Branded because I felt like I just wasn't comfortable enough on it. Like, I don't think I'm super proficient at it, like where I would be able to do well at a large event like this. Maybe at a regionals I might stand a chance, but I think for this YCS I just wasn't ready to play this deck, so that's why I didn't play Branded. My next choice was kind of the opposite, where Branded's like the best deck that I have, but you know, I'm not comfortable with it. I think Plunder is the worst of these decks, but I'm the most comfortable with it. But also, I didn't end up playing Plunder because I didn't think it was good enough. Like, realistically, Plunder cannot play against Snake Eyes or any of the top tier stuff. And yeah, I just didn't play this. If I were to play it though, by the way, I would play like a pure version, like 20 Plunder cards, 20 non-engine or something like that. And that's probably what I would have gone with. But yeah, I didn't really consider that. And that left me down to these 2 decks, Yugioh and then the new Chimera cards, the Chimera Fusion deck with Nightmare Apprentice. So Yugioh, I've been learning a lot lately. You guys have seen on the channel, I've been posting Yugioh videos. But honestly, I didn't think that it could stand up to hand traps very well. Like, if your opponent knows where to hand trap this deck, you are in a rough spot. And because everyone is on like 12 to 18 hand traps, I didn't think this was the time for Yugioh. I think Yugioh's time will come when we get the Phantom of Yugioh, the new fusion card. And then when Fiendsmith comes out, maybe it has a better chance as well. But yeah, right now, I didn't think was Yugioh's time to shine. So that's why I came down to the conclusion that I wanted to play Chimera. Now, I'll preface this a little bit. I won a regional with this deck back in September 2023. I have not played the deck since. So I was super rusty on the deck. I had just picked up the Nightmare Apprentice and the Diabellestar. I had never played with Tau yet. I had never played with the Baphomet Fusion yet, because honestly, I just have not played this deck. I've been playing so many other decks, Goaty, Plunder, Yugioh, Branded. Like, I've been playing so many other decks that I just haven't had time to learn this new strategy. So essentially, I grinded on like online simulators for like 3 days before the event to try to learn this deck a bit, and I thought I had it down well enough where I was comfortable enough to take the deck here. So yeah, this is what I ended up playing. The results were just okay. I started off really rough in the main event. I started off with 2 straight losses, and that pretty much knocks me out of contention for top cut right off the bat. But I decided to stay in the main event just to get reps with the deck. And I ended up winning the next 4 rounds. And then I lost in round 7 to a Melodious player. I could feel myself getting better with the deck as the day went on. Getting better with the side patterns, getting better with the combos, getting just more comfortable actually piloting this thing. And then on day 2, I entered a 3v3 tournament with some of my friends, and I ended up going 3-0 personally in the 3v3, but we ended up losing the 3rd round as a team. But yeah, I really felt good on those 2 days. I played against 2 Snake Eye Kashtira decks. I won 2-0 and then 2-1 on day 2 with this deck, and it felt so strong once I knew what was going on, like, really well, once I had my reps in. So that gives me an overall weekend record of 7-3, and that was my first weekend playing this deck. And I think it only goes up from here. Now that I know the baseline stuff, I can try out new techs, I can try out kind of new ideas, because I feel like this deck is kind of unexplored a little bit when it comes to innovation. So anyway, in this video, I'm going to go through this list here and talk through some of my choices. First of all, when you're deciding to play the Chimera deck, there's really 3 versions, I think, that are fairly relevant. There's the pure version, there's the melodious version with like ostinato and all that kind of stuff, and then there's, of course, going back to where we were before, the branded version, right, with Albaz and branded fusion and Rinbrum and that kind of thing. What it came down to is I played the pure version, and I really based everything off of the top 4 Dutch nationals list. The reason that I went with that list here, I'll tell you why I didn't play the other ones. So Melodious, first of all, was the first one I ruled out. Like I said, I didn't really have time to learn this deck. I think it would have been much harder to learn the deck with Melodious, because it's just a whole nother engine that I have to pick up in a couple of days. And second of all, it feels bricky to me, right? Like, you don't want to draw these cards, couple it in Concerto. You don't really want to normal summon Refrain. I feel like, yeah, like if you have in your head, oh man, if you open Ostinato, your board is nuts. Yeah, that's great, but what if you don't open Ostinato? You have to know what to do with normal summon Refrain and then a handful of Chimera cards. It doesn't play a lot of hand traps, like it plays like 6 non-engine or whatever. It just didn't feel like the pick. Like, it honestly, it just wasn't for me, so that's why I kind of ruled that out. And then branded, the whole branded fusion version that kind of used to be around is also cool, but I don't like that it doesn't really utilize Nightmare Apprentice to full capacity. Like, in the branded build, I feel like Nightmare Apprentice is just another copy of Cornfield Quaddle, and that didn't feel strong enough. And I would rather have like access to other extra deck stuff, like you know, Beatrice and Lars. If you have kind of full combo, you can actually add to your board with Nightmare Apprentice, whereas if you have branded fusion, Nightmare Apprentice is just a searcher, essentially, right? So yeah, it didn't feel that great, or it didn't feel great in my head when I was trying to consider how this deck would be played. And that's why I ended up going with the pure version that did well at Dutch Nationals. So I'm going to go through that list here, the main, extra, and side deck, and I'll talk about some of those choices and why I played them. Okay, so for the main, I'll be honest, like I said, very similar to the Dutch Nats list, almost identical card for card, but honestly, I tried to change that list. I tried other stuff, and things were just not really working out, and I eventually like came back to that original list on my own. So I do feel like at least I tried and I learned why those cards are played. So let me try to explain those a little bit here. 3 copies Nightmare Apprentice, of course. This is super strong card, especially in this build where you can go into rank 6 plays. It's just excellent consistency, excellent extender. 3 Quaddles. Quaddle, I feel like, is one of your best cards. Like, it's most improved from the original version of this deck before Nightmare Apprentice, because before, Quaddle was just a way to Sword Knight, right? But now Quaddle's a way to Gazelle, which is what you're searching most of the time, or what I find myself searching most of the time. So you always want to go for Gazelle with Quaddle, because if you get hand trapped on Gazelle, you still have the body at least, whereas if you get ashed on, if you go Quaddle search Sword Knight, normal Sword Knight, use effect, and you get ashed, your turn's over. Like, you have no follow-up. But if you have Gazelle, if you search for Gazelle, normal summon Gazelle, and you get hand trapped or whatever, if you have a fusion card in your hand, you're still cooking. So yeah, anyway, 3 Gazelle, super strong, and then 2 Baphomet. I feel like this lineup is fairly standard, and then we have the 1 Diabellestar, 1 Tau. Diabellestar is an incredible card. Like, when I first read this thing, when it was coming out in Legacy Destruction, I thought it was whatever. I thought it was kind of gimmicky, but because it's an illusion and it's so easy to summon back off of Tau or Big Wing Baphomet, just setting this up on your end board, going into your opponent's turn, it turns off so many of their cards. They can't Super Poly you, they can't Imperm, they can't Droplet, they can't activate Singen Kaiman, they can't activate Wanted. Like, it's not even you are able to pop them, it's just they have to set it and they can't activate it the rest of the turn. So it's super strong, and it's one of the main reasons I picked this deck for this particular event. And then we have 3 Chimera fusions. I'm up to 3 again. Back when I played this deck back before, you know, in its original format, I was only on 2 Chimera fusions, but now because of how prevalent hand traps are, 3 is super good because you can use them to dodge Imperm, Veiler, Mourner on your Gazelle, on your Baphomet, on your whatever. So super strong. It's like a hand trap dodger as well. You always want to open this. And then we're on the Edge Imp package, 2 Poly, 2 Edge Imp, 3 Patchwork. So yeah, this is all great. It's great that people don't really run Droll. Otherwise, this would be a little bit rougher. I did actually lose one of my matches because of Droll. So that was kind of tough, but yeah, it was good. I like this lineup of engine. There's not a whole lot of tech options you can play. Like there's that weird like level 10 illusion monster out of Legacy Destruction. There's like the emissary from the House of Wax, but those cards are just not good. And then the rest is just non-engine. So 3 Mourner, 3 Ash, 3 Imperm, 3 Veiler, 2 Talents, 1 Called By. So this is a 41 card main. Mourner definitely better than Ogre right now if you are playing a big event, because if you are going into Snake Eyes most of the time, Mourner is much better than Ogre. But if you're kind of in an event where you're seeing a variety of things, like a lot of Tenpai or whatever, then Ogre might have the edge. So yeah, this is the hand trap lineup I thought was best for this event. I thought Nib is very bad this format. I thought Droll is pretty bad this format. Like I did my non-engine spreadsheet, and that definitely helped me go through my non-engine choices and pick whatever I thought would be optimal. For the extra deck, oh, like I said, so the only difference in this main from the Dutch list is I played a second copy of Talent. The extra deck is going to be 1 Chimera, the King of Phantom Beast, 2 Baphomet, Mythical King, 1 Chimera, the Illusion Beast, 2 Guardian Chimera, 1 Dragostapelia, 1 Magnum. So this is the fusion lineup. I summoned all of these cards this weekend, which is kind of interesting because the last time I played this list at a big event, I like never summoned Magnum. I never ended up summoning Chimera the Illusion Beast. It's a far more toolboxy when you play the Patchwork engine because you have so much more access to fusion spells. Like back when you don't play Patchwork, you just play Chimera Fusion, and you're pretty much like, if you only have 1 Chimera Fusion, you're going to summon this, and you're going to hold the other one for Guardian Chimera, and that's essentially all you can do. But if you have Poly plus double Chimera Fusion, you can go into Magnum, you can draw, you can go into Dragostapelia, and like a whole bunch of different kind of things. Whoops. The rest of the extra, so 1 Typhon, 1 Lars, 1 Beatrice, these cards are all excellent. And there's a lot of plays you can actually do with this. Like, Beatrice is super important because, like, not only is it used to send Tau, like that's one of the main uses, just send Tau to revive an illusion. You can also send a Sword Knight or a Coatl if you're missing one in your grave for an extra interruption. But also one of the coolest uses is like if you open, like if you go into this guy with like Gazelle and Edge Imp, right? Because you drew like Gazelle Patchwork and you just poly these two for him, for Chimera. And then you can get the Nightmare Apprentice off of Gazelle, summon out the Nightmare Apprentice, but you still want a fusion spell, so you can overlay Nightmare Apprentice plus the Chimera for a Beatrice. Beatrice, detach the Chimera to send a copy of Chimera Fusion, and then Chimera Fusion can add back. So, like, Chimera Fusion is another excellent dump off of Beatrice. It gets you into your fusion spells as well, so it's super clutch. And really kind of it's pretty cool, and really useful. Like it's like one of the fairest ways to use Beatrice in the game. Usually Beatrice is just dumb and unfair, but yeah, I don't think it's too OP in this particular deck, so that's cool. And then the remaining extra deck slots, we have 3 links. We have Nightmare Phoenix, SP, Muckraker. I only made SP out of these. Muckraker never came up. Nightmare Phoenix never came up. If I could change these out for something more useful, I would. But honestly, there's nothing really that useful that I would rather play right now. Maybe in the future, there's going to be, or like if I play Fiendsmith with this deck, or if you play that new fusion monster that takes 2 Fiends, that's kind of cool. You could play a Mud Dragon, I thought, as well, because you can fuse something like Edgem Chain plus a Berfomet into a Mud Dragon, use Mud Dragon to call Light attribute, and then summon a Nightmare Apprentice, and then you can use those guys to go into Chaos Angel. It's something just really niche, but like it's just as niche as Muckraker, so yeah, whatever. But like the last card in the extra is Chaos Angel. It did come up and it won me a game for sure, because I summoned it against a Melodious player with 30 minutes left in the round, and he just couldn't out it, and I decked him out, and that was game. So yeah, Chaos Angel super clutch. You make that with Nightmare Apprentice plus Mirror Sword Knight, a dark and a light, and it gets both protection aspects, so that's pretty sweet. Yeah, that was the extra. That's the exact same as the top 4 Dutch list extra deck, so shout outs to that guy once again. But now my side deck differed quite a bit from that, guys, so let me talk about this. I think this is where I have the most like differences. I played 3 Bestials, 1 Baldrake, 1 Druid Swarm, 1 Magnemite. I'm always unsure what the third Bestial to play is. Like, for sure you play a Magna and a Druid, but then do you play a Soronir to chain block? Do you play a Baldrake just for extra interruption? Do you play just a second Druid Swarm because it's better? I don't know, but yeah, these are the 3 I played, and it didn't really matter whether it was Baldrake or not. Triple Ghost Ogre, just as for whatever matchups Ogre's better against. Like, I came in against a Horus deck. Came in against Tenpai, so yeah, it was cool. And yeah, that was it for the monster hand traps in the side. And then I played a lot of back row removal, triple Cosmic, double Lightning Storm, 1 Duster. So essentially I played all of these because I side them in at different times. Like you never side them all in at once, unless I would say unless you're playing against Runic Stone, then yeah, get as much back row hate as you want. But typically going second, I would side in these 3 because no one's on anti-spell anymore, so, or like it's rare to run into it, I'll take that chance. But I would always side in these 3 against Snake Eye going second because of skill drain. And then whenever back row removal will be good when I go first, that's when Cosmics come in for the quick play, right? So that's essentially the side patterns. And then you could, like I said, you could side in all 6 for Runic Stun. And then the last 3 cards, 1 copy of There Can Be Only One. This comes in against a lot of things. All your stuff is different types, so it's all good. And then 1 Simul Archfiends and 1 Archfiend Eris. So Archfiend Eris is a fiend, so you can send this to the graveyard off of your Berfomet fusion. And then when this goes to the grave, you can search an Archfiend card. And that's where you search Simul Archfiends. And if you haven't read this card before, I recommend you familiarize yourself. But it's essentially D-Barrier, or it acts as it serves the same role as D-Barrier. It's as if your opponent controls some type of monster like Link, Fusion, Xyz, Synchro, whatever. They cannot summon another one of that type, right? So if they control a Synchro monster, they can't go up into another Synchro. So it stops the Tenpai play where they have the level 7 out, and then they want to go up into the level 10. Well, they can't do it. And then it also stops Link decks. Unlike D-Barrier, like, it stops any deck that wants to Link climb. So if you have a Link monster, you can't Link up into another one. So that's really cool, and I brought these 3 in against Snake Eye going first. I'm not sure if There Can Be is good enough against Snake Eye going first, but I still thought it would be annoying enough to make a difference. So yeah, that's why I sided those. But yeah, this is my side deck. You'll notice I don't play Statue or any other weird targets like that, King Tiger Wangu, End of Anubis, or whatever. Reason being is, like, I feel like those cards are only good if you have full combo uninterrupted. And these days, if you're going first, your opponent's going second, they have like at least 15 hand traps, right? So you're almost never resolving summoning out Statue. Because if you think about it, what you have to do to summon out a Statue is you have to fuse up into this guy. You have to then fuse into this guy to dump the Statue and get this guy to the grave, and then banish this to summon the Statue. And that's a lot. Like, if you don't open, if you get impermed on anything that searches a fusion spell, like if you go Gazelle and you get impermed on Gazelle, you're kind of cooked, and your Statue is dead in deck. And if you draw the Statue, it's even worse because you are not going to be able to get it. So, or you're not going to be able to resolve it if you get stopped on searching your fusion spell, if you just don't open any, and that happens way too much, where I thought, like, there's no way I'm ever going to resolve this statue. Plus, I'm already flooding out my opponent with Diabellestar, and in the same place I could use, or in the same place I could dump statue and summon it back, I could just dump Archfiend Eris and set a trap card, and I don't have to burn my revive. This is your like main follow-up play, like to summon out your big wing Baphomet to get more follow-up. If I have to burn that on statue and they out my statue, I lose. But here I can just dump the Eris, search the trap card, and then use this for follow-up and like for a game push the next game. So yeah, I think this package is better than the statue package against most matchups. So yeah, all right, so that wraps up my list. The main, like I said, the main and extra are very similar to the Dutch Nationals list. My side deck is quite a bit different. There's like 9 cards overlap, but overall, like, these cards are different, and this card, and I think some of the back row hate is different. But yeah, I was really happy with the list by the end of the tournament, by the end of the weekend, because I actually learned how to play my own deck. Imagine that. But yeah, I definitely foresee myself playing this deck a lot more in the future, coming up in the near-term future. And we'll see if it works with any of the new stuff coming out in Infinite Forbidden and Battles of Legends. So we might see some cool interactions with those particular sets in this deck. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave a like, sub to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. We'll see you soon.